Hello and welcome back. I'm Natalie MacDonald and you're watching Sydney Direct on Dukascopy TV, where we talk to financial insiders about some of the hot topics and events impacting APAC markets. It's a new week and a new Australian government as PM Malcolm Turnbull takes the helm of a new ministry, including new Treasurer Scott Morrison. But what does all of this mean for Australian business and indeed the economy as a whole? I spoke to Director of Policy and Global Markets Andrew Bragg of the Financial Services Council to get his thoughts. Andrew Bragg, welcome back to Dukascopy TV. It's always a pleasure to receive you.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so today we're talking about this big change of government that we've seen. Now let's start from the beginning really. Now PM Malcolm Turnbull is Australia's fourth Prime Minister since 2013. It's a pretty big ring around there. What does this change in government mean for both business and consumer confidence?
Well, I don't think that people should necessarily feel that a lot of Prime Ministers means that nothing can be done or nothing can be achieved. In the first 15 years of the Australian Commonwealth, so 100 years ago, we had something like 10 or 12 Prime Ministers in 15 years. So you go through periods of volatility, but as long as you find the right leadership eventually, you can carry change. And the clear differentiator between this administration and the last one appears to be on economic reform. So we're optimistic that the new Prime Minister has the capacity to carry a reform conversation with the community.
Well, in terms of sort of economic policies, we've also had a new Treasurer come to the forefront as well. What sort of policies or reform then does the FSC hope or expect will be implemented by a Turnbull ministry?
Well, the government doesn't run the economy anymore, so Treasurers don't sit in Canberra pulling levers. What governments are responsible for is their own budgets, their tax system, and their trade policy, just to name three levers perhaps. So we believe that with Malcolm Turnbull as Prime Minister and the new Treasury team, which is Scott Morrison, Kelly O'Dwyer and Alex Hawke in the three Treasury ministerial portfolios, that there's a good chance that they can muster a program for budget repair, tax reform and continuity of good trade policy.
Now, one of the sort of legislative items that I know the FSC are big advocates for is the China-Australia Free Trade Agreement. There appears to be sort of a lot of misinformation almost in the public sphere about this legislation. What are some of the key benefits that you see really from this?
Well, 80% of our economy is now services, but it's only 17% of our exports. So we're still very heavily focused export economy on minerals and agriculture. So the Chinese free trade deal does remove tariffs for agriculture and minerals, for example. But what it also does is it opens up China to services, so professional services, financial services, education, healthcare. In terms of financial services, it's got provisions which will allow our fund managers to go into mainland China and access domestic markets, but also get exposure to Chinese assets with a view to packaging up products to sell outside of China. This is the first broad agreement that China has done with a major finance centre such as Australia, so we think it's a great opportunity and we're seeking the Parliament's approval now of the agreement so that we can make good on that head start.
With sort of this slowdown then in pushing that across the line really, is Australia at risk almost of missing out on capitalising on this opportunity? And what are those proactive next steps that need to be taken to get that trade infrastructure in place?
Yeah, so if we were talking about the removal of tariffs for livestock or fresh meat or agriculture, we would be, or minerals, we would be talking about the tariffs come off at a particular date and then the products can flow into the other market. In services and in financial services, it will take months, possibly years, to put in place all the infrastructure needed to allow our fund managers to access the Chinese market. The architecture doesn't exist with any other market, and so it could take some time. So the risk is that while we're having a domestic argument about whether we want to have free trade with China or not, other countries and other jurisdictions will be trying to get what we've got with the Chinese government. So the EU, Japan, the US, none of them have the deal that we have with China, and they'll be trying to do that. I mean, it's worth just quickly dwelling on the fundamental. The fundamental is by 2030 there'll be 1 billion people in the middle class in China. They're going to be looking for those sort of services. So the fact that we're first through the door is a tremendous advantage, which we think that the Parliament should quickly tick off.
Andrew, many thanks for the update.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure to receive Andrew Bragg's insights. That is all we've got time for right now. I'll be back with plenty more exclusive interviews for you right here from the heart of the APAC region. For now though, it's goodbye.